Good morning and welcome to a very special edition of Super Mania. We're back for season 2, completely not on our regular day. How very nonlinear.
I like that.
And as our first guest, I could not be more excited to have with me Dr. Octopus himself. Harry, introduce yourself.
I didn't give myself that name. I keep saying that because otherwise it's ridiculous. You never call yourself Dr. Octopus. What kind of villain is he? But this is
Evil.
Howard Drakes in South Africa gave me this name, and Howard is so cool and very nonlinear and an amazing writer and everything. And he started talking about me on LinkedIn as Dr. Octopus, and I thought it was so funny. So I'm using that.
I like it. I do. Yeah.
And
we have good morning from Alberta. Somebody's saying good morning from Alberta. That's exciting.
Good morning, Alberta. Yeah.
This show is dedicated to the neurodiverse, which basically means that your brain has typically a diagnosable difference in terms of how it processes information, but not everything is diagnosable. So that's also very much what we're going to be talking about, and mental health as well. And so welcome to the Super Mania show, to our season 2. Typically we're on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. How very linear of me. So now we're going to get away from all that stuff. Now you know who we are and what we're talking about. Good morning, Dr. Octopus. We're going to be talking about nonlinear thinking today. So let's define. I know we don't like definitions in the nonlinear world, but let's talk about what nonlinear means.
Oh no, I love linear things, and I use linear thinking as well. And we all do.
Yes.
When we go to school, we turn our nonlinear thinking into linear thinking and systems, and do your homework and be on time and be at school at 8:30 in the morning. And that's all very linear. And that's how we achieve our goals. But we forget about our amazing nonlinear brain that goes into all directions. And before the age of 7, hi, Vanessa, all doors are open in our brain. Right? Everything is possible. We're so cool. And then after the age of 7, these doors are closing and you become more and more linear. But some people are wired different, and we call them neurodiverse. And we cannot fit into that linear world. We can't. So what is nonlinear thinking? Nonlinear thinking for me is being different, is being a curious rebel, is being able to think fast, learn fast, make connections, don't sit still, doing things differently and creating different options. And the most amazing, groundbreaking individuals in our history are nonlinear thinkers, are people that are capable of doing the unexpected. Why are they capable of that? Because they're not stuck in that linear world.
Right. And I love that. And it's just creativity and it's innovation and that type of thing. That's what it is. And we have some examples for you today of what we're talking about. I'm very excited about these examples. So I actually have 2. So I'm going to do one, then you do your amazing one for which your beautiful children contributed. And then I'll do my husband's, which I think is the best one. So actually I'm going to start with his because his just caught me so off guard. So we ran out of chip clips. And so my husband was looking around for something to use. And so I came into the kitchen and this is what he had come up with. I want to point out to you that this is a bag of Ruffles with a pulse oximeter. It's a thing that goes on your finger and reads your heartbeat and your oxygen levels.
Yeah.
And that's what he put, because nobody was using that. And so he was like, I just need something that'll pinch onto these chips. What do I have? Genius.
This reminds me of talking with a beautiful individual with autism, and I asked him, what do you want to change in the world? What do you want to see different? What's bugging you? And he said, I thought it was so cool. I use that every time. I get so annoyed by all these unwritten rules. Yeah. And that's true. That's the linear world with all the unwritten rules. So the unwritten rule is that you cannot use this clip on a bag of chips. You can't. That's the unwritten rule.
Nope. Yeah, can't do that. That's just be weird. Don't do that.
But in reality, you can use that clip. It's not a problem. Nobody gets hurt.
No,
The
yeah.
chips will be
Perfectly
fine.
good solution.
And if we're looking for the heart monitor thing, we know where it is. It's on
We
the
know where
bag
it
of
is. It's
chips,
easily
right?
found. I could
Yeah,
probably find it now more easily than before. So
yeah.
now I am just dying to showcase these beautiful business cards that and tell us about them. I cannot wait to see them
Oh,
again.
my
Let's
business
see them.
card.
Yes,
Oh,
the ones you were just showing me. These beautiful.
yeah. So I need to show you this. So this I was thinking I need a business card. How linear is a business card? So I want to have a nonlinear business card, but I don't want to do it overboard. Like too nonlinear is also annoying. So it just needs to have a little bit of a touch of something else. So
Right.
I created the Octopus Movement business card, and that's it. And it's blank. There's nothing on it. And so now I customize these things whenever I'm waiting for a Zoom call or whatnot. And I ask my kids to draw on it and create these little works
And
of
aren't they
art.
precious? I love these. So your kids color your business cards for you, which is just spectacular. That's
Right? And then write
absolutely
something
wonderful.
down at the back, and here it says, my daughter says, I'm going to miss you so much. So I'm not giving this business card
Oh,
away.
obviously not.
This is for me. But when you meet someone, I'm writing down something on the back. What a wonderful conversation, or I really like your headset, or whatever. um, Hugs and kisses, Perry, and this is my email address or my phone number, or I don't
Right.
write anything down if I don't want them to contact me. And it's wonderful, you
And
know
yes, it is. And and the nonlinear business card, I just want to throw this out and I'm going to go ahead and show mine real quick that just came in yesterday. I designed it. This is a metal bottle opener. It also is glittery. You can't really tell that. And on the other side is my contact information. And that's my mascot, Jeremy. And let
so
me tell you and it's a bottle opener. So I mean, it's something people want, right?
yeah,
It's wallet size.
Jeremy's butt is opening a bottle. That's really
Yes,
funny.
Jeremy's butt is opening a bottle for it doesn't get less linear than that. So, but it works. When I go out, these things, it makes you stick in people's minds. And I will tell you that, I mean, I get so many business cards. I mean, literally thousands per year. I get thousands of business cards. And there are some that I keep because I think that they're so interesting. And that person is always at the front of my mind. And so that nonlinear thinking helps me get to success. And I always try to explain that to people that, this is important because it helps you innovate. It helps you stand out. It helps you move to the next level. Look at Richard Branson. Look at, even if you're not a fan of his personally, Elon Musk is highly successful and a remarkable mind. Again, Stephen Hawking, another great nonlinear thinker. So these folks, it's neurodiversity expands the world. It does. Just expands the world and makes it more grand and bigger and pushes us forward.
Yeah. And I
Don't you
think
think?
it's such a great example, these business cards. It's so interesting because it's a very thin line with nonlinear thinkers. It
Right.
either goes the right way or the wrong way. And so if it goes the right way, you're doing something new, innovative that people like and find interesting, and you become successful. But it
Yes.
also can go the other way, that nobody understands what the hell you're doing, and everything goes sideways, right? Because
Right.
the majority of people, 80% of people, are normal, and they're in that linear, unwritten rule structure, and can be very successful and very happy and very wealthy and a beautiful swimming pool. But the difference in what we need in the world for humanity and climate change and how we take care of things are, of course, always made by groundbreaking individuals that think
Right.
outside of the box. But as soon
Right.
as someone starts thinking outside of the box, the majority of normal people are a little bit
It's
judgmental,
true.
careful. Oh, this is a really weird person. I don't want him in my company. But that really weird person can change everything as
Yes.
long as it works in the right way. And I think
Yes.
that's what we're both fighting for, is saying,
Yes.
hello, we're weird, but stop judging immediately about my nail polish. Stop judging
Right.
immediately by, my accent, whatever.
Or having an octopus in the background of every video that you do.
Yeah, it's weird. I even have an octopus on my arm. Where is it? Can you see it?
No. There it is.
There it
There it
is.
is. There it is.
It's crazy. Let's not judge each other so fast.
Yes.
And it's people ask me, what do you do with the Octopus Movement? Well, I create awareness for the awesomeness of the atypical thinker, and I find it sometimes a bit difficult with the term neurodiversity. How can you box neurodiversity? And I understand that as soon as something becomes complex and difficult, we need to simplify. I get that.
Right.
But you cannot simplify diversity. So there is a difficulty there that we understand now. We need to talk about diversity, and it's something we need to embrace. But if you don't understand diversity, you're trying to simplify it. And I think simplifying the diversity of the brain creates neurodiversity and labels. But that's just the beginning. If you really would understand diversity and embrace the difficulty of diversity, then we're not talking about labels anymore.
Right.
That's what I think.
I agree. I think, excuse me, I think that a lot of times there's this tendency to just define something and then leave it alone. But it's not that simple, especially not with human beings, where the mind is always different from person to person. And one thing I love to talk about is how, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. They don't represent the entire community. If you meet somebody who has bipolar disorder, that represents that person with bipolar disorder, dyslexia, ADHD, it goes on and on and on.
It used to be same with gay people, right?
If
one gay people, then
that's it.
They know all they all
everybody,
know each other.
Everybody, yep. That's it.
If you know one gay person, you know the whole gay community.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Nope. It's ridiculous. You can't, it's silly. That would be like saying, I know one man, and so I know all men. I know how all men behave based off of this one man. It's just not realistic. And I love this because the idea sort of has to evolve and not stop at the initial labeling. Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly correct. And you have to allow for growth. Just as a human species, we're evolving. I mean, look at us in the last 100 years. We went from literally the Wild West in the United States to, one of the most progressive first world countries, and with, going to space, and with cell phones, and with laptops, and all of these TVs in every house, and all these amazing things in only 100 years. That's so short a span of time. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you have to allow for that evolution. And so in a company, that's, we were talking about at work, people can act funny about neurodiversity. That person's doesn't want to look at me during an interview. I don't want to hire them, or that type of thing. And it boggles my mind that people think that way, because different is what moves us forward. It's not the person that's just sitting there thinking of the same thing. The people that invented space shuttles, are the people that the Albert Einsteins of the world, and these people are the ones moving us forward, and that are thinking differently. And so you want that in your company, but you have to let people work in a way that's natural to them, right? In a way that feels right, and people will function better, be happier, and your company will do better if you just let them work in a way that's natural for them, not in your little, this is how you have to do it way, but in their own unique way.
And we're not there yet. People are talking about this, and we're talking about diversity, neurodiversity, people, human rights, everything. And oh yes, and but we're not there. We're not even close. Look at the educational system. I've met this little girl. It's a 10-year-old girl, and she was at the IB, so International Baccalaureate at the international school in Belgium. She was top of her class, brilliant little girl, super excited. Everything was going for her. She changed schools. She went to the Netherlands, to an international school here in the Netherlands. And all of a sudden her dyslexia became a huge problem. She has dyslexia, severe dyslexia, really trouble in reading and writing, and school kicked her out. Said you
Good
shouldn't be
grief.
here because the IB is going to be too difficult for you with your dyslexia. So at one school, her dyslexia wasn't a problem. Then the other school, dyslexia is a problem, and
Which is,
the
it's
parent
just so
went to
simple to
court.
fix. It's so simple, by the way. I just want to pause real quick. It's so simple to accommodate dyslexia. There's so many tools. It's so easy. It's
Yeah.
not difficult at all.
Yeah. And parents
Proceed.
went to court. The father went to court and to fight that she could stay at this international school, that they should help her and provide tools. But this school didn't do anything, and they just went to the local governments because they needed to support her. And he lost. They just said, I don't know what to do. And I listened to the school because the school is the institution that understands. Now, this is where I think it goes wrong. That's why we need to talk about this today and inspire people. We're not there yet. We're still in
Right.
this linear, over-specialized way of thinking. And, oh, yes, we hire someone with autism. Oh, we're doing a good job. It's not about that, right? And this
I mean,
girl,
that's a step. It's a step, but then
It's-
there's more to it.
yeah, but I know some people are listening to us and thinking, oh, here we go again. It's neurodiversity. Yeah. Right. We still have a long way to go. And this girl had to leave school. This girl is my daughter, by the way. The dude who went to court is me. It's ridiculous.
It is. And we had another guest, Trip O'Neill. I think I connected the two of you because he had the exact same thing happen to him here in the States.
Yeah.
Just crazy. I mean, it happens anywhere is ludicrous to me because it's such an easy accommodation. There's so many simple, even free tools out there to accommodate somebody with dyslexia. And I don't like the word accommodation anymore. I used to because I'm Southern. And in the United States, when you're Southern, you want to be accommodating. It is your privilege to be accommodating to other human beings.
Mm-hmm.
That idea doesn't seem to have carried over into the business world or into the North or Midwest or anywhere else. And so people think accommodation and they're like, ugh, I have to do something.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, most of the time you don't. Often the person can do it themselves as long as you back away and just give them the space to do it. Misconception number one. Number two is that it's some horrible burden on you. Well, if it takes you as a teacher, 20 or educational institution, 20 minutes maybe to set up a tool for a kid, isn't that worth it to support that kid? Or as a business, and to, if it takes you an extra 10, 20 minutes to set somebody up with the stuff that they need, that's going to save you hours and hours and hours because their mind will work more effectively with that tool. So why not take the time to do it? It's such a simple little thing that you can do, right? I mean,
yeah.
And the fact that you're having to go to court.
But it's not that simple because also teachers are struggling. They have time pressure and they have management that is very linear above them. And it needs to be like this and this and this and this. You cannot do it in a different way. It's difficult. And it's difficult because there's no balance between the linear and nonlinear thinking. It's same thing with women's rights. Bam, let's throw that in here right now. Women's rights. The difficulty, I think, is the same with the linear and nonlinear systems in organizations. So linear thinking is a very male-dominated thing, right? So these organizations are very linear in linear structures and linear systems and linear organizations. And for women to thrive in these kind of organizations, you need to adapt to that linear structure.
Right.
So if these organizations become more in balance with linear and nonlinear thinking and loosen up the underwear a little bit, relax, follow your gut instinct and not, be uptight all the time.
That's the problem is the underwear. Now we know.
The underwear is the issue.
Stop wearing uncomfortable
Nobody
underwear.
knows this. Nobody knows this. But it's the underwear. It's the linear underwear. Don't go into details there. But if we if we change that a little bit, huge things will happen. Why do you think this is not an issue with startups? Why is it not an issue with startups for women to have amazing jobs? Why is it not an issue for neurodiverse people to work at startups? Because these are nonlinear organizations. They're not traps.
I was going to say, that's where I tell everybody to go that's nonlinear in any way, shape, or form. Like, go to a startup. That's because that's what they need. And that's what they look for. If they have half a brain, that's what they look for. And I've even known very linear people who had startups who recognized, no, I need the opposite of me. I need somebody that's, that thinks way outside the box, can do 50 different things. And I've wondered with schools too, and with training people, because I've heard the argument, oh, well, if I have to train somebody and they're different, and end of the freaking world. Does it make sense to have separate trainings for nonlinear people and nonlinear children? Now, I think maybe different school for nonlinear. We separate kids anyway to different classrooms. Like, why can't there be a nonlinear classroom? That would actually probably be helpful. But they still have to learn to work within the linear world, right?
Yeah.
So I think training people, whether it's to train adults that go into a corporate type setting, or whether it's to train children on how to do very basic things, doesn't it make sense to teach the teachers how to train for both simultaneously? And you can, by the way, this is something that can be accomplished.
Yeah, well, I think it's both. I think the teacher needs to understand that there are multiple solutions in learning a topic, but I think more important even is to help and understand students, kids, how their own brain works.
Yes.
So if you're a 10-year-old and you have ADHD, and you're capable of going to your teacher and saying, listen, I can't sit still the way that it works for me if I sit on a skippy ball or whatever, and I use a fidget spinner all the time. And so if the child, if the student, if the adult, don't forget the adults there, because they also don't know, if you're able to explain yourself, listen, this is what I need to learn, this is what I need to work, then it will work, right? We cannot put everything with the teachers in the
No. And if the child's very small and will need an accommodation, then the parent needs to help explain what the child needs. So no, I want to make that very clear. I'm not putting you're right. I don't want to make it sound like I'm putting everything on the employer or the educational institution, either one.
Because, Catherine, there are people, I want to say this, there are people, of course, that are so against labels and neurodiversity that they don't want to be tested. They don't want their children to be tested. They don't want to go there. I don't want to have a label. So, which is fine, which I understand. But if society is not trained to understand linear and nonlinear thinking, and linear thinking is the status quo, and you're not willing to investigate what your label is, you're going to be having a tough ride in your life. And this is also fine. This is hardship that makes you strong and makes you create new things. That's all perfect. But how nice would it be if we accommodate a little bit better and understanding real diversity here?
Right. Absolutely. And I want to, amen. So I want to say, so we had a comment that a lot of people won't have enough self-awareness to know what to ask for. And that's a very good point. And that's exactly where I was about to go next. That was a perfect comment, Michelle. Thank you. So it took me, so I've talked about this a lot, not just on my own shows, but on others as well. One of my neurodiversities is that I do have bipolar 1. And I went completely unmedicated for 20 years with that diagnosis. I now only medicate during extreme manic episodes because they got a little much. And even then, it's a very mild. It's actually interesting. It was designed to be an allergy medicine, and it helps with mania. Yeah, go figure. So anyway, fascination of medicine.
What happens, Catherine? I'm curious. What happens when you're in that state of mind when you need to take your medicine? What happens with you?
When I get that extreme? So the reason that I finally started medicating is that I can get to where it's very hard to have self-control. I'm going to limit the comment. I'm going to limit the explanation there because I don't want to get too far into that and forget what I was going to say. But if anybody wants to know, I don't mind. If anybody wants to know exactly what I go through, I do not mind sharing. It is, I have some of the characteristics. I can start spending too much. I can get very big temper flares, things like that. And I maintain this most of the time. And for 20 years, I did it completely unmedicated, which took a lot of work with a psychologist and research on my own to learn to regulate myself and to understand what I needed when at every single stage of my cycle. And I want to say that even if you are medicated, you still need to do that. You still need to learn everything that you need during every bit of what's going on with you. It only takes a day or two, by the way, typically, to get at least a very basic understanding. And then you can kind of dive into it from there and just stop and think, oh, yes, this is what I need. This is what I have going on. It's very, but the awareness is very important. And I was also aware enough to go get meds when I needed them. Nobody told me I needed them. I said, oh, yeah, this is getting bad. The self-control is getting harder and harder and harder. And I got on the meds to help keep it a little bit more regulated, make it a little bit easier. And they're very mild. They don't affect me. Although funny enough, if I take them when I'm not hypermanic, they make me stoned. So I can't take them I can't take them regularly. Can't do it. And I mean sitting there going, whoa, what's happening to me kind of thing. It's not even like lithium or anything like that. It's just an allergy medicine. But anyway, with my body chemistry, I can only take it when I'm hypermanic, and it's the only time I do take it. So, but it doesn't zonk me out, and I still get all the positive benefits of my mania too, which is great. But you need to learn yourself and what you need. And parents, if we're talking about your child, this is on you too, okay? It is your job, especially when they're little bitty and they can't quite communicate to that higher level yet, to figure out what they need. Watch them, observe them. They will let you know. They will, in their own little way, they will let you know. I was just watching my cousin's daughter, who I know is neurodiverse. You could just tell it. She's a fabulous kid. She's brilliant. But just has a strong will. She is really freaking cool. And I was watching her and how she communicated. And it was so interesting, and when she wanted attention and love and affection, she would start playing this one very particular game with her father that she knew would get him to touch her and interact with her. And that was her way to communicate that what she needed was that attention and that affection. And when, she, wanted a particular thing, just the way that she communicated. So, and she is verbal, she speaks just fine, but she doesn't always overtly say, I need this, but she shows you in her actions what she needs. So parents, one thing I really want to encourage you, because I know a lot of neurodiverse folks who grew up with parents that didn't do this and how very hard it was for them. Take time to listen and watch for your children's communication and what they need. Watch them. If they're trying to do something, even if it bothers you, watch them for a minute and think, okay, what are they doing? Why do they need this? If your child is doing something that you think is odd, and as long as it's not unsafe, let them do it for a minute. figure out why they're doing that, because a lot of times there is a reason. Even with non-neurodiverse kids, that's just true, but especially with neurodiverse children, I can't tell you how many times, I've met a child and I knew that they were autistic or dyslexic or had ADHD or whatever way before their parents did. Now, granted, I study this stuff, but I also am a studier of humans.
Yeah.
I always have been. I study humans. I'm fascinated. I sit there and watch them and pay attention to them. I'm not creepy. I don't think I'm not like the person at the mall, like just staring at you, filming you. I'm not that person.
It depends on how you look at them, Catherine.
That's true.
You're taking Jeremy with you.
If I have Jeremy,
big eyes looking at you, that's freaky.
That might be too much. Yeah, I leave Jeremy out of the people watching. That's but
can I say something to the parents?
Please.
The unwritten rules are back. You have unwritten rules in your house as well. And you have expectations for yourself and for your kids. And the expectations you have for your kids are huge. Trust me. And you don't have to throw them away, but you at least be aware of the fact that you have created all these unwritten rules and all these expectations. And that's wrong.
Yeah.
You need to facilitate your kids in order to grow up as individuals. And they're not mini yous. They're individuals. And you want to bring them up in a safe environment and be who they are. So stop destroying these kids by all these unwritten rules and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And let them flourish themselves. And if they don't do well at school, then they don't do
That's
well
okay.
at school. It's okay.
Yeah, who cares?
Especially today. Who fucking cares? Who effing cares? But if you apply at Elon Musk's company, if you finish your school, then he's not interested. You're too linear.
Too linear.
You're out.
Too much. Right? Go away. Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to. And some of the most brilliant humans I know who are wildly successful, by the way, didn't do that great in school.
And we're not saying you should not finish school. No.
Right, that's not it.
But the unwritten rule that you have to finish school, otherwise you will not be successful. Hence, you will not be happy.
Right.
That's not true. And
no.
And of course, as a parent, I have 3 kids. I want them to be happy. Of course. And I'm trying to do my best to facilitate, to make them happy. But it's not up to me. If they can be themselves and if they can fail at their own way and if they can be successful at their own way, then they will be happy. So please, people, please. And I sometimes talk to parents about their nonlinear kids and they ask me for advice. I have a 17-year-old Dr. Octopus, and what do I need to do? Because he's doing this and this and I don't agree with that and it's wrong for him. And but listen, it
can be scary.
It is scary.
It can be scary as a parent. Yeah.
The kid has amazing brains. The kid has so many ideas. Let him be. It's going to be okay. He's not going to do exactly what you want him to do or her.
Guide them. Keep them safe. When I was very young, and the bipolar kind of kicked in even before they were allowed to diagnose me with that. We all knew what it was. Back then they called it manic depression, And my parents, God love them, man. They kind of nailed it. They were so supportive and they would let me go. They still to this day just embrace my cycles as they are. So with bipolar, a lot of people think that you erratically change. That's not correct. There is a whole cycle of up and a whole cycle of down. And there can be a little intermixing, but for the most part, it's long periods of one and then long periods of the other, typically. So they just took it like champs and they let me do things differently in each cycle and they were flexible, but they supported me. And if I was doing something dangerous, especially during the manic stages, because let me tell you, a manic teenager, I do not wish that on anybody. And I was relatively easy as a teenager in general, but whoa, yeah, don't wish that. So they would stop me. They would go, okay, okay, no, that's the line, come back over here, and that's what you have to do. You have to balance it. And my whole family kind of just ran with my neurodiversity. Actually, I think I had teachers on one side. They're also musicians that are all neurodiverse. And then I had the other side, which has some neurodiversity and scientists and medical people. And they all were just kind of like, okay, well, that's just what she's going to do. Just kind of ran with it. And my cousins are neurodiverse, and they're, and they're on that side and on my mother's side, and they're in very different ways than my cousins on the other side. And they just everybody just kind of rolled with neurodiversity in my family. So I think for us, it was more natural. Mm-hmm. But I also got to see what the good and the bad was. I saw the parents that it's like, oh my God, please don't say that to your kid, And so I stop and think, especially at work. I've told the story about when I messed up. ADHD is a hard one for me to manage. It is. It's a hard one for me. It does not clash well with my neurodiversity. It doesn't mesh well always. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it does. But it's the hardest one for me. And my husband.
What does it mean? What does it mean? It means when you have a coworker with ADHD, it freaks you out?
No. That doesn't bother me. It's only if I have to manage them. I'm not as good at supporting them and being a leader for them. It's a downfall for me. I want to be very, very clear about that. I am not, I have had wonderful working relationships with ADHD folks over the years. And actually, now I've learned to have good working relationships with them as employees, as team members. But
managing them is more difficult.
It is more difficult for me. I don't think in general, but for me, it is.
You, yeah.
Yeah, for me. And so my husband taught me how to deal. He gave me a great lesson. My husband, who's also neurodiverse and came up with the new chip clip, he came over and he goes one time and he said, have you asked him what he needs? Talking about this employee I was struggling with. And I knew it was me struggling because I knew his success level in other places. So I knew it was me. Mm-hmm. And I said, no. And he goes, well, watch this. And so he goes over there and asks this guy everything he needs. And he goes, that's all you have to do is ask them. I was like, what? And so like, it's that easy, like mind blown. I was in my 20s, by the way. And so I started doing that. I just started asking people every time I worked with them, what do you need? What would make you work more comfortable? What will make you more effective? What will make you happier? And that's what we do. I don't care if it's that they want everything on their desk to be pink. Great. If that makes you happier, if that helps your psyche in some way, great. You're going to have all pink. If you want a headset that noise cancels.
Isn't this the big problem anyway? Aren't we not asking enough questions anyway?
Yes.
Also,
that's the thing.
To kids, to students, what do you need? Your grades are not going very well. What do you need? I think not a lot of teachers are asking that. What do you need?
Exactly. What do you need?
Also with relationships with the spouse, you're being annoyed by your spouse and whatever he's doing, and what do you need?
Let me tell you on that point, and you and I've had this discussion before, is my relationship. We've been together 18 and a half years. It got way better the more I dove into understanding neurodiversity and studying it. Yeah. Because I could stop and go, okay, so this is why this is happening. And I started realizing that it wasn't right to ask him to do things the normal way because that's not what's natural to him. And so it just got way better, just monumentally less frustrating.
And how wonderful is it to say to your partner, I know this is so annoying that I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I know I'm freaking you out right now. I can't help it. Can we talk about it? I cannot shut the flip up. I keep going and you want me to sit and I can't. And I keep talking and you want me to be quiet and just cuddle, but I can't stop. And if you understand that from yourself.
And again, self-awareness.
Again, self-awareness. And it's true self-awareness. And all these internet posts about authenticity and building your own brand, it is again self-awareness. You know, who
Yep.
are you kidding? And stress. What creates stress if you're in a situation where you don't belong?
Hmm.
You're not honest with yourself. You're pretending to be someone else because you want to be according these expectations your parents and your siblings and your neighbors have from you, and you're not true to yourself. You don't understand yourself enough. This is the big thing, Catherine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Underwear and self-awareness.
Underwear. We can't forget comfortable underwear is a must, or
People,
just none. Just go without
comfort,
any.
go
Also an
without
option.
any. Yeah, that saves a lot as well. Yeah,
So this is hard
we
left.
nailed it.
So
Yeah,
we nailed it. We know what's causing all the jerks in the world. They have bad
yeah,
underwear. That's what
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
So but it really is amazing when you stop and you just listen to people. And as a leader, I'm going to talk to the professional side of this because this is always something that's cracked me up is that people don't understand. This is actually true. People do not understand that when you're in leadership in a company, that your job is to take care of people.
Yeah.
That is your job. That if you just really just make it as simple as humanly possible, that is your job. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary. Taking care of people. So when you're doing that, you need to learn to watch them and know when to ask them. Say, hey, I'm just noticing that we're having this little hiccup here. What can I do to support you to help you fix it? Because and when you approach it that way as a leader, when you don't make it, ugh, what's wrong with you? Or why isn't this working? What's wrong? You know, when you just say, okay, what are we needing? What's missing? And that's usually how I say, you say what's missing. And they'll usually tell me, oh, well, I could really use this, or this would be, a great tool, or I need training on this or whatever. That will get the problem fixed very, very quickly. So as a leader, you need to, or as a parent, even,
But Catherine, what do you
that
think?
communication.
I sometimes think that the nonlinear leadership person, so nonlinear leadership is the future. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I think
It's
nonlinear
very
thinking
much
is
going that
very
way.
diverse, right?
Yes.
And if you're in leadership and you don't understand yourself too well, then how on earth are you going to manage the people in your team? How can you take
Right.
the best out of all the individuals if you don't even understand yourself? And if you're not into diversity thinking yourself, how on earth are you going to adjust yourself to make your leadership style possible for every individual?
Right.
So
Right.
I don't get it. So why is it so difficult for nonlinear thinkers to get a serious job in the corporate world? Because they're looking for a marketing director that is already a marketing director for 25 years with, all the background and all the experiences, and that's going to be the marketing director. But that's the linear solution, people, which is
Right.
fine. But there's
Right.
also another option to hire someone who only has 3 years of experience in marketing, but is a great leader, understands marketing better than anyone else, and is able to adjust himself into all different levels,
Yes.
all different diversity kind of brains, and get the best out of all people. I applied for many jobs when I went back to the Netherlands. I wasn't even
Mhm.
invited for a conversation. My resume looks like shit. I'm a radio host, a TV presenter. I work for an animal nutrition company, startup. I've done so many different things that when someone looks at my resume, they're like, okay, forget this dude. We don't understand what's happening here.
Like
So
what's going on? I'm
what's
very
going on?
perplexed.
That's not possible.
Yet again, why resumes don't work. Anyway, go ahead.
And now I understand that if I want to send my resume, I need to make it very linear. So I need to adjust everything towards that one expertise so people will
Yes.
understand. So it's my fault that I messed up. But
But
I I'm great. I'm the best employee you can have.
yeah, I'm
I've
the same
created the
way.
whole global
I did.
movement within a year. I did the impossible. You want
It's
me.
that's what I
Jesus.
always tell people. You want, and I will say this is kind of cool. So the whole, I actually just had a conversation about this yesterday. So the whole trend with leadership is moving very much towards the nonlinear thinkers, the emotionally intelligent. Those are going right at the top of the list for leadership. And people are starting to hire. Finally, I kept trying to explain to people, you don't hire the one who's the best at the regular job for leadership. That's not how that works. You hire the one that's going to actually be the best at leadership. Um, for instance, I once had my top performer upset because I promoted somebody else to assistant manager. I said, you don't want to take care of people. And he goes, no, I don't, but I should get a promotion. I said, of course, that's why you have gotten one. I said, you just didn't give me a chance to tell you. You're going to move up to senior. You're going to have this raise, blah, blah. He was so happy. That's what he wanted to move up, but leadership was not right for him. He didn't want to do all that stuff. So but it is moving toward hiring appropriately, finally, for leadership. It is the people who have compassion, the people who have empathy, the people who can think outside of themselves, which, by the way, should be right at the top of your list for a manager. You need somebody who's going to think from the perspective of other people, who can listen, who can learn. And it's going that way. That's the cool thing. We're seeing a significant trend to these very nonlinear traits mattering for leadership, which is wonderful, and especially in startups, because again, they're figuring out, oh yeah, this is what we get. Yeah, right? This is what we have to have. But even corporations are starting to do that. They're going, wait a minute.
but some of them don't get it.
No.
We just are surviving COVID, and everybody worked at home and discovered, holy shit, when I'm working at home, I can even do more things.
But they want people to come back to the office. They're
people
like,
come back to the office. We need to check what you're doing. We don't care if you're doing less at the office. We want to see you, but we're doing more at home. No.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Still, some things needs to be done, right? But
yes, absolutely. We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Slowly. Yeah. But the I think kind of, and I love Soul Angel's point here. I think I said her name correctly too. I hope I did. This is a great point about leadership. So I hope everybody reads this comment. I think that kind of the messages here are, you're not weird if you're not linear, not in a bad way. You're weird in a good way. You're weird in a positive way. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing bad about how you are. Even if your neurodiversity can be frustrating. I talked about some of my frustrations with my bipolar disorder. Even if that's the case, there's still so many amazing things. I would not be where I am today without my bipolar disorder. Down to the fact that when I had a seizure right before a major speech at a convention with almost 50,000 people, not that all of them were watching me, but that's how many people were at this thing. It was a big deal. I had a seizure and my speech was completely erased out of my mind. Boop, gone. Not coming back. A lot of things were not right in my mind. And I was like, I'm not missing my speech. This ain't happening. And so my wonderful mania cycle was in place, and it drove me and got my butt going and got me up there. I found solutions. I found ways to make it work. I got up there, gave my speech with notes. I did explain to the audience what I was doing, and it went well. It went very well. And so without that neurodiversity, the neurodiversity that's allowed me to, work at hyper speeds and do things in one day that would take people, 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of perks. So even when it can be frustrating, it's not that there's something wrong with you. You just process differently. And that's valuable. And it's interesting. And I think that schools and companies need to get it together and start embracing this and moving forward. What do you think?
Yes, I totally agree with you. And to all the managers that are getting a high on controlling people and their ego needs that burst, I'm a manager now. So at a party, they can say, I'm a manager now, and I have 20 people working for me. That's an ego trip. Horrible. Forget those. Nonlinear thinking is cool. People don't judge too fast. Start to look at yourself. Self-awareness, 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 underwear. Look at yourself and don't judge all the time.
Right.
And look at my website, theoctopusmovement.org. Sorry, advertisement here. But there is a section that says nonlinear thinkers. And I made a list of amazing people in the world that are very nonlinear. Have a flipping look at that list. So the next time you run into someone who's a bit weird, who's a bit of a curious rebel, and you're immediately jumping into all kinds of conclusions or judgmental thoughts, think about that. Read the book of Steve Jobs. He got kicked out of Apple. It's a beautiful story, right? With Steve, he had this vision. He wanted to go there, and so many people were saying to him, "You're absolutely out of your mind." I saw a press interview with him, and someone was standing up saying, "What the hell are you doing, Steve?
Yep.
And who are you? You don't mean anything." And that reporter was so linear. He was so, this is how it should be. He was following all the unwritten rules. And now everybody loves the iPhone, and everybody wants an Apple, and everybody.
Not me, but I do still appreciate the technology.
Right? But it's always the same, that if someone who has a nonlinear brain and gets into the linear results, then they're being celebrated. My question to all of you is, can we now celebrate, please, the nonlinear thinker without the linear results in life?
Yes.
Can we embrace people that think outside of the box? Can we hire them?
Yes.
Spoil them because they have brilliant ideas.
Let them work in ways that are natural to them.
Please. That would be so much fun. And not wait until the linear results are there. And then, like Elon Musk, when Tesla was going down, almost bankrupt, everybody was, Elon Musk, asshole, it's not working, and he's wrong. And then he got bigger than Toyota, and now everybody is celebrating, and Elon Musk is the best. It's so linear to do that.
Right.
So linear.
Please, stop kicking people just because they're like, every minute of every day isn't successful. With every great success comes failures along the way. Trust me. From two people who are running major projects and businesses, let us tell you, that is just part of the curve. That's just part of what happens. So embrace the process.
and if you're simplifying things in order to understand and be judgmental about that, it means that it's too difficult for you. And when something is too difficult for you, step back and wait a little while. And don't immediately start simplifying, labeling everything in order to understand what is happening. Allow yourself not to understand people. It all starts with the simple ideas, and embrace that, and then continue. Please.
Absolutely. And just, I'm seeing comments here that people, they've struggled throughout their professional career. They're talking about, how we put kids in these little boxes, and it's so true. So stop it. Just whenever you see somebody, embrace them as their individual selves and stop trying to. Diagnosis, I want to be very clear, can be helpful because it helps you to understand yourself.
I love it.
That's how
I love labels.
I love labels too. Huge fan. But don't put a box on it.
Explain to me how I work. I love that. My dyslexia, my ADHD.
It gives you a jumping point to understand yourself, right? So it's great for that.
But Catherine,
stop limiting.
People were saying to me always, "Oh, Perry, you cannot write. Don't write anything. People will not understand. My dyslexia is so severe." And now I've published a book. The second one is on its way. I'm writing every day. And if I make a mistake, flip it. I have dyslexia.
Who cares?
If you can't understand what I'm reading, too bad for you, right? I'm trying. I'm taking a lot of risk here. Maybe I make stupid mistakes. flip it. At least I'm doing something. At least I'm
Yes.
trying to help some people.
Yes, 100%. I've been told a million times, oh, this is going to be so tough with you at this, or oh, this is this, that, or the other. I'm like, yeah. We're I got this. Don't worry about it. Just don't. So, kind of my closing message with this intro into season 2 of Supermania, which I'm very excited about. I have some beautiful guests coming. If you are nonlinear, if you are neurodiverse, if your whole life you've been told that you're weird, if people struggle to understand you, this is your tribe. The folks in the comments, the folks that watch, the people that I have on this show, they are your tribe. Reach out to them, connect to them, build your community. There's a wonderful example of how well this works. Kat Alexander, who found me last season and connected to me and is neurodiverse herself and funny. She's going to be on this season, by the way. She's going to be one of my guests. I cannot wait to have her on. And she did that. She started building out her community and realized, oh, I'm not alone. There's all these other people out here who are awesome like me and who get it and who understand. And so I encourage you to do that for yourself and to build that tribe. I've done it. I have people across the world, literally across the world for myself, who in all different countries from all different walks of life. And we've built this beautiful, wonderful community. A huge part of that is the Octopus Movement. Definitely check that out if you haven't. What's the website again?
www.theoctopusmovement.org.
You said that's like it was a commercial. That was great. And Soul Angel, we're so happy to have you here too. Everyone connect if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you want to share with us, if you want to ask us questions. We are both very open to that. If you want to, I definitely recommend joining the Octopus Movement. It is awesome sauce. There's going to be a really cool book about neurodiversity that he's putting out that's just incredible. I've been honored and asked to be part of it. Thank you again for that. Other than that, catch us. Normally, we're on Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The post will always stay on my LinkedIn. We also have a YouTube for Supermania. And this year, we're also going to, at some point, be on iHeartRadio. So super excited about that.
Ooh.
So moving up in the world.
And make sure your underwear fits well. Not too tight. Loosen up a little.
Cotton is best.
Cotton is best. Or don't wear any underwear. That's even better.
Yeah, that's even better.
Relax.
Just don't.
Go with the flow. As long as you don't hurt anyone, go with the flow, people.
That's right. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your diversities. And with that, we both wish you a wonderful day. And I will see you Tuesdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern.